השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת שבת ויהי נפש ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ברית Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lechem
have to play them again. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, lie, la, 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 lie. La, 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 lie. La, 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 lie. La, lie, la, 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 lie. La, 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 lie. La, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Welcome to our Shabbat evening service here at Temple Solel in Hollywood, Florida. We're so blessed and thrilled that we're all able to join together in our Shabbat evening service. I'm joined on the bima by my beloved colleague, Cantor Rosen, as well as by our past president, David Topping, and another special David Leibowitz, who is on the eve of his bar mitzvah and will lead us for the first time for a portion of our worship service this evening. As we light our candles of Shabbat, I'm reminded of sometimes we have some challenges in life. We have some difficulties, some bumps in the road. I know as David has made his way through his preparation towards his bar mitzvah, he's had a couple bumps in the road, as so many of us have, in the obstacles and the traversing of trying to make our way through this pandemic. And yet, here we are, we have arrived. And so sometimes we light the candles of Shabbat, knowing from week to week, month to month, even year to year, that as long as we stay the course, as long as we are devoted to our task, as long as we have the support of faith and one another, the light can be present in our lives and glow towards an ever more promising tomorrow. And so with an abundance of joy as we have arrived at this moment, it's my pleasure to call forward the mother of the bar mitzvah, Sherry, to lead us in the kindling of our Sabbath candles. Our prayers can be found on page 2 and page 3. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us, as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light. So may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lacha l'ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kideshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת.
We continue in worship on page 9. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share. There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days when we act as if we care nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. And so we embrace Shabbat for it is our day of rest, our day of wonder, our day of peace. Please join me at the bottom of the page. We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories glowing even in darkness, for Shabbat peace born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessings, O God. And as we make it through our week, as we make it through our lives, we are blessed to have the presence of angels amongst us, those who give us a sense of support and guidance, a helping hand, a helping word. And so we are angels to one another as we are uplifted in life and uplifted as we are angels who come together on Shabbat, the angels of Shabbat who greet us as we greet one another. Shalom Aleichem. Peace to each and every one of us. Page 24.
שלום עליכם מלאכי השרת, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. בואכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ברכוני לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. צאתכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. צאתכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
In the Parsha this week, we read of Jacob, and we know that Jacob finds himself abandoned, finds himself alone in the dark of the night. But we are never truly alone. And in the dark of that night, Jacob must ask himself, what matters to me? Who am I? What am I going to become? We do this each and every day. It is not easy to stand by our principles of civility in a world of division. It is not easy to stand for reason in a world bereft of even the ability to have a conversation. And certainly it's not easy to stand in a world to stand up and be counted, needing the support of basic health care, of good roads, of good infrastructure. It's not easy to be a Jew. It's not easy to stand by our principles. But this is exactly what Jacob did, and this is what the Jewish people have done, because we are not alone. We have the light of faith, the light of one another, and the light of a wonderful inheritance of Judaism. And so we stand together, as we have always done, for our call to worship on page 28. Please rise.
Lai 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 lai. ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד, ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. לי, 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 לי.
Baruch atah Adonai hamariv aravim. Bless Lord our God, who brings on our evening. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Bless Lord our God, who brings together us in love, the people Israel and all people. As we continue with the ancient watchwords of our faith, the Shema, page 34.
שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. 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 ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו, לעולם ועד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו, לעולם ועד. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד.
Friends, please be seated as we continue from listening to love, the Via Hafta, page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, וחיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשופך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, ואתם קדושים ללכם. אני אדוני אלוהיהם, אשר הוצאתי אתם מארץ מצרים, להיות להם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיהם.
Let us pray responsively at the bottom of page 39. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God, not only in the high heavens above, but also with us here on earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in the darkest ages your vision of a world redeemed. Nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. And in a world of turbulence, in a world of change, in a world of uncertainty, we place our faith, our beings, in a source of transcendence, a source of understanding that transcends all time and all place, that we can put our trust in the eternal values and virtues of our tradition, of listening, of love, of compassion, of supporting the vulnerable and the righteous. As we lie down to sleep, as we rise up in the morning, as we seek comfort and peace in our world, Let us always pray that we have that shelter of peace beside us, over top of us, that provides us protection and safety wherever we may be. Hashkivenu, our prayer of peace, understanding, and steadfast value.
ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד עולם. אשכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך מעתה ועד עולם, 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 מעתה ועד עולם.
Although obviously the week contains 7 days, we are taught in our tradition that all of the other times of the week, all the other 6 days, are equal in measured weight to the time of the Sabbath. When we invest ourselves in the Sabbath, when we take ownership over the Sabbath, we make the time necessary in our lives to rest, to be with family, to reflect, to discern, to think about what God truly made us to be, the gifts of our lives and the gifts of how we can use those talents, those abilities for others. We connect deeper to the divine. There is, it's true, an opportunity to have that equal weight of measure, but only if we choose to seize it, only if we choose to invest in it, only if we choose to keep the Shabbat. Yismechu, bottom of page 44.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We rise for the prayer that connects us generation to generation, just as you, David, are holding our chain together from our past to our future, as we turn to our tefillah on page 46.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rahel, ve'Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, ve'Konei Hako, ve'Zoher Hasdei Avot ve'Imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'nehem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Mashiach U'Magen. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, God of our fathers and mothers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, and God of Jacob, God of Sarah, God of Rebekah, God of Rachel, and God of Leah, the great, mighty, and awesome God, transcendent God who bestows loving kindness, creates everything out of love, remembers the love of our fathers and mothers, and brings redemption to their children's children for the sake of the divine name. Sovereign, deliverer, helper, and shield. Blessed are you, Adonai, Sarah's helper, Abraham's shield. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, ve'ezrat Sarah. Ata gibor leolam Adonai, mehaye hakol ata, Rav leoshia, mashiv haruach umorid hagashem, mechalkel chayim behesed, mehaye hakol berachanim rabim, somech noflim verofe holim, umatir asurim, ומחיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיע ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. You are forever mighty, Adonai. You give life to all. You cause the wind to shift and rain to fall. You sustain life through love, giving life to all, through great compassion, supporting the fallen, healing the sick, freeing the captive, keeping faith with those who sleep in the dust. Who is like you, source of mighty acts? Who resembles you, a sovereign who takes and gives life, causing deliverance to spring up and faithfully giving life to all? Blessed are you, Adonai, who gives life to all. Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye hakol.
As we continue on the following page, you are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Bless you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated. On the top of page 55, may these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. At the bottom of page 57. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds our minds, we look inward for the answer to our prayers, and there may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'odcha levadcha bira na'avod. As we approach our holiday of Thanksgiving, we are reminded we have so much to be grateful for as we share our prayer of thanksgiving, as we do recite this prayer not only on special holidays of the year, but also every time we come together in worship. Modim anachnu lach, kshata hu Adonai Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu le'olam va'ed. Tzor chayinu mageni shenu atahu lador vador. Nodeh lecha nisaper tilatecha, al chayinu mishim be'adecha, v'nishpatecha b'ducha lach. V'al nisecha sheb'chol yom imanu, v'al niflotecha v'tovatecha, sheb'chol et erev v'voker v'tohorayim, hatov kilo chal rachamecha, v'rachem kilo tamu chasadecha, me'olam kivinu lach. We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai our God and the God of our ancestors forever. You're the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are under your care, for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day and in between, evening, morning, and noon. O good one whose mercies never end, O compassionate one whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you, and let your name be praised in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai, your name is goodness, and you're worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha l'cha na'eh l'hodod. And so we pray for an abundance of thanksgiving for all that we're grateful for, especially to be grateful for the peace, the shalom that we have in our lives. Shalom Rab.
Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב, שלום רב, על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב, שלום רב, על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
Let us take a few moments of silent prayer and private reflection, guiding language that may be found throughout our prayer books, whichever prayers may spring from our hearts.
עושה שלום במרומם, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומם, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמרו אמן. nay 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 nay. עושה שלום במרומם, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן.
We take a few moments in our service to lift up those in need of prayers of healing, perhaps ourselves, members of our family, our congregational family, or whomever may be in our lives and seeking prayers of strength, body, mind, or spirit. As my eyes meet yours, please share aloud with our congregational family those in our needs of such prayers for this Shabbat Eve. To these we also add Ann Becker, Richard Blanke, Abe Cohen, Seth Gelwasser, Kathy Greenberg, Dr. Robert Greenstein, Judy Hand, Don Harvey, Hannah Cates, Phyllis Lewis, Fred Lippman, Jordan Meschel, Charles Messing, Sharon Perlman, Elwood Powers, Diana Ramos, Michelle Robinson, Gabrielle Rosenthal, Diana Rothberg, Elena Schroeder, Carl Schuster, Andy Sawson, Amy Sponseller, Ray Strauss, Charlie Wolf, Martin Zoffman, and Luvi Moniel. Our prayer of healing may be found on page 253.
מי שברך אבותינו מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our life a blessing, and let us say Amen. מי שברך אמותינו מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with רפואה שלמה. The renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Maybe there's a special place from your childhood or as a young adult, or maybe just from a few years ago, that you remember as a special place. Maybe it was a time that you had a moment with a friend or a milestone. Maybe it was just a beautiful landscape. Maybe it was an important point in your life that caused you to reflect, caused you to pause, caused you to have a deeper understanding of who you are, or caused you to question, caused you to wonder, or caused you to make a promise to yourself or to somebody else close to you. And then many years pass, some times pass, and you haven't been back to that place, and then all of a sudden, it's there right again before you, that process of returning. There is a special park I used to go to growing up, I think literally as I was like 3 or 4 years old. It's a well-known park where I'm from in Maryland called Cabin John Park. And it has a bunch of, stuff you would expect for kids to play on, and some nature and all that. And this past month I was in a place where I returned to that park. I didn't literally go back to the park, literally. I was here. But it made some news because there was a statue that was put forward in that park of a special person named Shirley Povich. I don't know if, I see a couple heads nodding here. I'm not sure if anyone knew that there was a statue that went up to Shirley Povich. That name Povich may have a little bit more familiarity to some of us from his well-known son, Maury Povich. The elder father was known not only in Washington for more than a generation, I'd say even a couple generations, and had literally been the sort of the statesperson for sports journalism as a columnist, not only in the Washington, D.C. area, but really known nationally for his steadfast and dedication to the craft. And he was really lauded by his peers. His background, of course, Jewish, was he grew up in Bal Harbor, Maine, and at the time, somewhat of a fledgling newspaper, the Washington Post. The publisher had happened to be up in Maine during a summer, and Shirley Povich at the time was his caddy. And he said, "Would you like the job as a newspaper boy and a copy editor?" And Shirley leapt at the opportunity, and no more than 2 years, and he was not even old enough to vote. Not even old enough to vote. And he was writing columns for the Washington Post at the time. Now, Shirley was, of course, really well known for a lot of things. But one of the things that I thought was sort of a special thing that I thought David might have some meaningfulness to you, I was thinking what words might be meaningful for you to hear tonight, is that he happened to be, of course, there at many signature moments in baseball. And I know you like baseball. That's a passion of yours. And one of the moments that he was present for was for the time when Cal Ripken broke a certain record. Do you know about that? You know who Cal Ripken is? Yeah, you know the record that he broke? Cal Ripken broke the record for most consecutive games played. And up to that point, that record had been held by Lou Gehrig. And it had been 2,130 consecutive games showing up. Now, I know you as a steadfast and loyal guy, and you, David, are there time and time and time again. You're a dedicated type of guy, and you know that baseball is not easy to show up each and every time, game after game after game, especially in baseball where they have so many games and they're traveling all around the world and they get injured or they get sick or whatever may happen. And yet, time and time again, and Cal Ripken broke the record. And at the game that he broke the record, there were two other people there who had been present when Lou Gehrig broke the record many, many years earlier. And one was Shirley Povich when he broke the record. And the other one was a guy that you might have heard of named Joe DiMaggio, who was a teammate of Lou Gehrig at the time. So Shirley Povich was there for Lou Gehrig and there for Cal Ripken, as was Joe DiMaggio. So why am I bringing up this story of Shirley Povich tonight, and what does it mean to us on Shabbat, on this Shabbat, and why might it mean something we hope and pray, and I think you already have been gifted with a lot of the understanding of this already in your life, David, and who you are. So the Parsha tonight asks Jacob to return back to a place he had already been. Just like I had returned back to the park, or Shirley had been back in the place when he was doing the reporting in that moment, returning back to the time when the last time the consecutive record had been broken, or returning back to a certain place at a certain time. And the place he returns back to is a place that's sort of well known in Judaism. It's called Beit El, which literally translates to the house of God. And it's such an important signature moment in Judaism, in the story of Judaism, that many, many temples, our temple's named obviously Temple Solel. Not too many names of temples have that name associated with it. There's a lot of names of Temple Shalom. I think you've heard that word before. But there's many, many temples, perhaps even the most well-known temple, I would say, besides Temple Shalom, all the Shaloms that are out there, I would say might be Temple Bethel. There's probably a Temple Bethel in most large cities in the United States. Okay? And what happens the first time is that Jacob says to himself, okay, I will pledge my allegiance, my devotion to you, Adonai, if you stay with me on this journey and you provide for me food and you provide for me protection and safety and you provide for me clothes on my back such that I can make it safely to my father's house. If you do that for me, then I will be true to you. And you can understand in that moment, in that time of desperation or vulnerability or difficulty or abandonment, you could feel a person strain and struggle and saying, who am I going to be? What am I going to be? I promise I can move forward in this pathway of faith, this higher virtue, but please, as I'm going through it, don't destroy me. Don't let me just be prey to the elements of the world. Shirley Povich was, of course, known for his incredible columns, which he wrote week after week after week, and through 13 presidents, and could tell you the stories of not only Joe DiMaggio, but also other legendary figures, and not just in baseball, which is really his passion, and not just Washington sports, but sports writ large. But that's not the only aspect of steadfastness, of loyalty that he was known for. Where he might have felt like Jacob in making that pledge in that moment, God, I'll go with you on this one, but please just stand by my side. Don't rip me to shreds. Don't tear me apart. Because what this Jew, at a time when, I got to tell you, in the 40s, in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s, wasn't always easy being a public figure as a Jew. And he was really well known for not only being this great columnist, but also in print saying things like, well, there you have it again, the burgundy and gold, those are the teams of the Washington sports team, or at that time the Redskins. But not only there you have it, the burgundy and gold, but he would say the burgundy, gold, and the Caucasian. Or he would say Jim Brown, just because of the sheer nature of how he was born and wasn't had an opportunity to serve on the Washington Redskins, he integrated the touchdown, he integrated the final line 3 times in the last game. Because, of course, Jim Brown was African American. Meaning the Washington Redskins owners refused to integrate their team. Because that's just that type of city. Okay? And Shirley Povich, a Jew, who had reached a certain platform, a certain elevation, what happened to him? They took away his press credentials. Meaning this luminary figure, this highly respected figure, was no longer allowed to even be at the games. And these are powerful institutions, powerful figures. And then the publisher of the sports franchise sued him. Not just once, again. And the Post and other places could have abandoned him. And I'm sure in a moment like that, at times like that, Shirley Povich must have asked himself, oh God, please let me to be able to continue my craft. Please let me continue to just do what I want to do. But he refused to stay silent. He stood strong. He stood tall. And all these years later, after he's passed, They literally erected a monument, a statue, to Shirley Povich in that park that I used to play. And what does Jacob do when he returns to that place 20 years later? It shows up in our portion here tonight. 20 years later, having not been there, he sets up literally what's called a matzeva, a pillar, a monument. And so my prayer for you, David, and our prayer for all of us is to know that being Jewish is not always easy. It's a struggle. It's a hardship. But if we stayed steadfast and true to our devotions, that's not a bad thing at times to have that source of concern. What's going to happen to me? What's going to occur to me? To being tested, to being in a state of fragility and vulnerability allows us to grow in our faith, allows us to know more of who we are. So what I hope for you, and I hope for all of us, is as we see challenges in our country, as we see challenges in our community, as we see challenges in our families, as we see challenges in our lives, let's stay true to who we are, stay true to our deepest devotions, grow and learn as we do, tested in our faith, and growing in our faith. Not so much that we look towards one day that we can have a pillar erected in our name or in our image, but that so we can ultimately be able to praise God as the ultimate pillar and monument that is eternal and stands true and will carry us forward as a people now and beyond. Ken hi ratzon, may it be God's will. Let us rise for the adoration, page 282.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Friends, please be seated. Page 287. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding, loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun over God, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas. And let us return again and again to our deepest principles and grow in our faith, no matter what challenges may face us, such that light may be shined across the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו echad.
We turn to a mournful meditation on page 290. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch, a fearful thing to love, hope, dream to be, and owe to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing to love, what death has touched. On this Shabbat Eve, we think of loved ones who have been recently taken from us. In loving memory, Stephen Burke, husband of Gwen Burke, Fran Cohen, aunt of Jason Block and Adam Block, sister of Charles Block and sister-in-law of Joyce Block, Ronald Friedel, husband of Sheila Friedel, father of Dr. Alan and Suzanne Friedel, Dr. Lee and Lene Friedel, and Faith and John Cahill. Michael James Grover, the son of Billy and Dr. Norman Grover, and the brother of Stephen Grover. Jax Bass, the father of Carla and R.E.A. Davidoff, and the grandfather of Benjamin Davidoff. Audrey Green, mother of Lisa Bernstein, Holly Latch, and Gina Green, the grandmother of Brian, Danny, Eric, Matthew, and Lauren, and the sister of Shirley. To those we add beloveds who have passed in this season in years past. Elliot Berkovitz, Vladimir Burstein, Bernice Bush, Sheller Carver, Melvin Churls, Stuart Cohen, Ray Cooper Smith, Helen David, Helen Duke, Bonnie Elmowitz, Saul Feinberg, Louis Finichel, Paul Frost, Philip Frost, Isidore Geller, Audrey Gerber, Dora Goldstein, Anna Gruder, Sophia Kahn, David Keller, Blanche Kays, Dr. Louis Kurland, Sarah Lenga, Norman Lasker, David LeBeau, Harold Levy, Louis Lindenbaum, Helen Lepetz, Robert Miller, Murray Nitschhauser, Janet Ornstein, Louise Parker, David Piotrowski, Jeanette Posner, Martin Rendell, Yehuda Rosenfeld, Nathan Rebel, Leonard Schwab, Julia Schwartz, Sam Schwartz, Anita Siegel, Herman Singer, Sidel Singer, Irene Tannenbaum, Joe Wiener, Irving Winger, Tamis Wise, and Charles Plost. Let us rise for the Mourner's Kaddish, page 294. Igadal v'ikadash shemei Rabba, v'amad divrach yirtei v'mlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'mechon v'chayedechol beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevarach l'olam omei amaya. Yibarach v'yishtabach v'pa'ar v'termam v'naseh. V'tadar v'taleh v'talal shmei degudasha brechu. Leila min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, tamiram be'ama v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'akol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav v'yaseh shalom, aleinu v'akol Yisrael v'akol Yoshrei tevel v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all who mourn, to which we offer. Amen. Please be seated. It's my pleasure to call forward David Topping, our immediate past president, with some words of welcome for our Shabbat and some announcements.
Shabbat Shalom from the Board of Directors of Temple Solel. The family of Solel is so excited for the entire Leibowitz family. Mazel Tov to David and his entire extended family here at Temple Solel. David will be called to the Torah tomorrow afternoon during Havdalah services beginning at 5 p.m. And so far, so great. Torah study with Rabbi Plost begins at 9:30 tomorrow morning. It's a great way to exchange ideas among congregants and friends in a thought-provoking and fun way. Of course, we'll be back here next Friday evening, November 26th at 7:30 to observe Shabbat together with services led by Rabbi Rosen. Temple's Tikkun Olam Committee is holding their annual Thanksgiving gift card drive for the low-income families with children from Hollywood and Dania Beach who are part of the Love Our Nation mentoring program. We ask that you drop off your gift cards to Anita at the office or send them to Anita's attention. On Shabbat evening, Friday, December 3rd, 2 Shabbats from now, Temple Solel will be hosting a Hanukkah party beginning at 5:45 p.m., sponsored by Temple Solel Sisterhood. The party will include kids' activities, dinner, and of course a Hanukkah service. Please keep an eye out in the Pathfinder for more details. Rabbi, it's hard to believe Hanukkah is only 2 weeks away. I don't know about you, but I already can taste the latkes. If you're looking for a variety of foods for each of the nights of Hanukkah, we could look to Hanukkah customs from around the world. Start out day one with our beloved latkes, timeless mostly among Ashkenazi Jews. For day two, we can move on to Israel, where typical Hanukkah treat is sufganiyot, or what we would call fried donuts, typically with jelly fillings. Day three, let's go to Morocco for sfenji, which is a ring-shaped spongy dough typically drizzled with honey. Day four, try Iraqi Hanukkah halva, made with flour and traditionally eaten with warm flatbread. Day five, let's remember our Jewish brothers and sisters with Syrian roots, who makes latkes, but they make their latkes with pumpkin rather than potatoes. Day six, Italian Jews, you know that's going to be the best food, have the tradition of eating dairy with their fried foods for Hanukkah, so their festive meal is typically a breakfast-type pancake made with ricotta cheese. They're called cassola. These pancakes would end up to be more like our cheesecake than anything else. Day seven, for many Sephardic Jews in Europe, it's not Hanukkah without at least one day as a meat meal, since meat was traditionally associated with celebration and special occasions. So they actually eat fried chicken for Hanukkah. And for day eight, we can visit Poland and eat rugala for Hanukkah, which was originated among Yiddish-speaking Jews. So now that we're talking about food, if you're interested in sponsoring an oneg here at Temple Solel, for those who attend in person, please contact the temple office and leave a message for me through Anita. And even if you attend virtually, we welcome your sponsorship for an oneg. Tonight's oneg is sponsored by Sherry, Barry, David, and Matthew Leibowitz. Please hang out for a while and enjoy the desserts. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. David, I really appreciate that, because if my wife asks me during Hanukkah, why am I eating fried chicken, I now can say it's out of religious devotion. We continue as we rise, as we consecrate our joy of Shabbat with our Kiddush.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו בשבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה וראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh, 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 Shabbat. Amen. L'chaim.
Chaim, Chaim. You want to do Hamotzi? You want me to do it? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. And we conclude with our final hymn, Adon Olam.
Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yetzir Nivra Le'eit Nasa B'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה והוא יהיה בתפארה אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נעשה בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא אזי מלך שמו נקרא בידו אפקיד רוחי בעת אישה ואהירה ואם רוחי גבייתי אדוני לי ולא אירא אדוני לי ולא אירא אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נעשה בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא אזי מלך שמו נקרא.
Adonai li v'lo yirah, God is with me, I shall not fear. As we make our way in life, let us always find those moments to pause, to promise to ourselves, to take seriously our steadfast devotion by the principles by which we live, so that we may return and return and return, even many years later, as individuals, as a family, as a community, as the Jewish people, such that we can erect monuments of pride in our lives, always looking upwards, always improving the world and growing in our faith as we do so. Shabbat Shalom.